Trickcal Chibi Go is honestly a bit of a masterpiece. It is by far one of the better gacha games that I've played. It is weird. It is utterly chaotic, but in the best possible way. The combat is fun and amusing. The story is filled with a lot of hilarious moments with characters that have very distinct, diverse personalities that tie together in this very amusing narrative that really took me by surprise. But let's go ahead here and take a look at what the game has to offer. While it's downloading this new update, you can very, very evidently see the style here of game that this is. The narrative is incredible. It really genuinely is. This is why it's a masterpiece. Just from a narrative perspective. I hope you can understand Japanese. All that anime that you watch paid off. I just know she has so much bounce going on for a character with a model like that. And she, oh my god, her outfit is crazy. And she has such big... And then over there, yeah. So like this game, I mean, there are a hell of a lot of pros to it. I would also like to point out real quick before I jump into this, I am playing this through an emulator, and the emulator does have a tendency to mess up my microphone audio quality. It makes it kind of pop and crackle a little bit, so I do apologize in advance if that does in fact happen here.
A few moments later.
I'm trying to log into the game, and I can't. I've tried 4 different logins. So I am genuinely an absolute fucking idiot. I streamed this for an entire month. All of January. I have tons of stream footage here, which I guess I'm going to have to use now for this video, because apparently me, in my infinite wisdom when beginning the game, I was greeted by a message that said, please bind it to an official account as soon as possible for your own account safety. You know what Papa Stix did? Well, he looked at it and he said to himself, nah. So I clicked skip. And because of that, I can now no longer log into my account. I cannot log into an account that had over 40 freaking hours worth of goddamn playtime. And there is absolutely no way for me to get my account back. So let this be a lesson to all of you. When starting a game, bind your fucking account. Holy crap. Now, normally here, I would walk you all through the kind of game this is. But unfortunately, since I can't show you like play by play, I'll have to just describe it to you. This is a game with an absolutely psychotic, over-the-top narrative. It is genuinely so unbelievably fun and enjoyable that I really can't compare it to anything else. Like, if you guys have seen the anime Panty and Stocking, I think that might be a close comparison, because that is what it genuinely strongly resembles to me. Now, the game itself is incredibly cute. You could see that by the intro with the narrative being told. You can see it with the characters that are in the background, the gameplay in the background. We're going to start this off, though, with the gacha first, because I want to start off with how free-to-play friendly this game was. So I played for about 30 to 40 hours, and I did several hundred freaking pulls. Several hundred. That is more than any other gacha game I've played other than Star Savior in recent memory. The amount of max rarity characters I actually obtained, I think the 3-star characters I obtained blew my mind. I had more 3-star characters than I knew what to do with, really. The base rates for characters seem to be at roughly 3% for 3-star characters. Is actually very high. The Eldine, which are the rarer types of units, are actually at a 0.6% rate up instead. So normal 3 stars are actually significantly higher than Genshin Impact, but the rarest characters are the equivalent of Genshin Impact. An accurate comparison here would be to like Pilgrims in Nikke. The game does not have a 50-50 or a guarantee at all. So realistically, you can continue to, as far as I'm aware, pull characters infinitely and never get the rate up character. There's something called devotion in the game. It's a kind of like a type of mileage where after you attain a certain amount, it's 200 or 300. 200 for I think like the base 3-star units, and then 300 for the Eldine units you exchange for the character. So this is kind of like the guarantee or the ticket you'd use in Blue Archive or in Nikke. Much like in Nikke, the devotion does not expire, which means it carries over infinitely, meaning you can actually stock up on this currency and save it for a future character that you're interested in. So on the one hand, not opting for the Eldine here is actually relatively free-to-play friendly, but if you're trying to get an Eldine character, it is much more difficult. So whether or not you think it's free-to-play friendly is entirely dependent on what your definition of that term is. In terms of content, there is a decent number of things to do, activities to run. The difficulty was never bad. I think I saw individual spikes here and there, but these were things you could very easily overcome just by leveling your characters, just by upgrading them, by equipping certain gear onto them. I think the gating is very minimal. In all, I encountered maybe 1 or 2 fights over that 30-40 hour period that required to actually go back, adjust my team composition to include characters that synergize well with one another, and then to ultimately level up, gear up, and upgrade my characters to overcome said challenge. But that was only 1 or 2 times over that 30 to 40 hour period. Everything else, I would just casually and periodically go back. I'd upgrade some characters, I'd replace some characters, I'd pull for some more characters and replace some more characters, and that was it. That was a very easy form of progression. I never found myself ever having to grind tediously or arduously for prolonged periods of time to overcome. I think that you're rewarded so often. Now, I am a very casual gamer, so I think the free-to-play friendliness aspect applies to me differently than it does some people. Same with the gating aspect. I only play games, gacha games, for like 30 minutes to an hour each day. So realistically, I never run into problems where I am hindered from progression as a direct result of, you know, gating, time gating, difficulty gating. So for me, every day I logged in, I received free bulls. Every day I logged in, I received free premium currency. And the materials that I would acquire through grinding, everything that I would acquire just by playing for that 30 to 60 minute period each day allowed for me to progress at a very easy, very rapid rate. Never ever was I forced to grind any more or do any more than what I wanted to do to progress. So to me, from a casual perspective and casual standpoint, it was incredibly free-to-play friendly, especially since I never spent a single cent on the game. The gameplay is very easy. It is as simple as deploying a few units and then letting them auto. There is a little more depth to it than that, but the complexity in this game in terms of the gameplay specifically is very minimal, at least based off of what I played. Now, some people might argue, no, the game is much more deep, much more complex than that. I mean, sure, maybe like at endgame. And I'm not trying to like attack the game or discredit it for being an easy game or a crappy game just purely due to how I interpreted the combat and the gameplay, but I autoed through everything. I never, outside of the beginning where you're required to play manually, I never invested any real manual time into the game, and I never had an issue with it because it just never required it of me. Graphically, this game is an absolute gem. It really is. It's beautiful, it's cute, it has crazy character models, has crazy events happening, animations, special effects, everything. It looks so freaking good. It reminds me exactly of Pantheon Stalking, which I pointed out earlier. If you've watched that anime, then this is Pantheon Stalking, but crazier, less lewd and perverse, and just more chaotic. I think they've created and established this beautiful world that is just filled with things to do, filled with very, very interesting, engaging, and enthralling stories, narratives, and characters that leave you wanting so much more. And honestly, from the perspective of someone that has a lot of side gotchas, like my main gotchas are Nikke, Arknights Enfield, and Wuthering Waves. I have a lot of side gotchas. Star Savior, Chaos Zero Nightmare are two prime examples of that. Guardian Tales, Path to Nowhere. I think that at the end of the day, this game just makes for a great side game, which is not an insult. I think it's just a game like this really excels by tackling it casually and sporadically without, you know, pouring like 4 hours straight into it. Because there's not really, I did point out that there were a number of things to do, sure, but not enough where you can, you know, like warrant an extensive amount of time playing it. There's no world to explore. There aren't treasure chests to find. It is a very contained, very instanced game and environment, which is not a disservice to it, but it does prevent you from really, you know, and demotivate you from playing for long periods. You can, I just don't really see much reason to as a casual gamer that has a lot of casual side games myself. Now let's go ahead here and break down my rating. Content, 6 out of 10. There's a decent number of activities to keep me occupied. Difficulty, 6 out of 10. I saw the occasional difficulty spike here and there, but nothing that really gated me from progression. Free-to-play friendliness, 8 out of 10. The game is incredibly free-to-play friendly. I swear I've done hundreds of pulls and have never spent a cent. Gameplay, 5 out of 10. I'd say this is probably the weakest part of the game. It's simple, it's easy, and you can auto effortlessly for, what, roughly the 30 to 40 hours I've played thus far. I've heard people saying that you rarely even have to manual. Graphics, 8 out of 10. This is an incredibly cute game. I cannot stress enough how absolutely perfect this graphical style is for this type of game. Sound, 6 out of 10. It's cute and mostly complements the wacky story. Story, 9 out of 10. This is where the game truly shines. Numerous elements with diverse and distinct personalities for different characters that tie together an incredibly amusing narrative that you will not find anywhere else. Voice acting, 8 out of 10. I loved it. It's over the top. It's cute and perfectly fitting for each character. World, 9 out of 10. They built a vibrant world with extensive lore, history, character interaction. It's so much more than just a pretty backdrop. Fun, 8 out of 10. I had an absolute blast playing this. It's complete and utter chaos in the best damn way. Overall, I'd give this 70 degenerate waifus or 7 out of 10. A truly fantastic side gacha. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.